This room is the ox milling room. Just do a panoramic view. This is the, the far side of the two gates where the oxen enter into the milling area. And now we're starting to see some of the arms on the mill itself. And the central part of the mill, there's a stand where the ox driver can stand if he wishes. And then around the mill itself area, keep going round, the safety bars so people can view the milling without actually having contact with the animals. And then back round here to the door, which leads into the milling machinery area, and then back round again to the gates where the cows, oxen come into the working area. Before I go into the machinery area, I'll just go through the actual mill itself. If you look at the floor, what we have done is put a little bit of straw down on the floor of a concrete area, and this is because on bare concrete, when they put their dung on it, and sometimes they will slip. So we found that by putting a little straw down, it prevents them from slipping. The mill that we have has 5 arms. Initially we made the arms out of wood, but we found that they would break. Sometimes a bull would sit on them, or sometimes they would just basically, one of the cables would go and they would snap. So what we're now doing is replacing the arms with steel. So this steel here is about 3 inches. About 3 inches wide, square box, and the bar itself is 5 meters long to the center of the shaft. We find this is a good length, so as the bulls are walking round, then there's plenty of space for them to maneuver. Some oxen don't like the mill, so a bigger circle is better than a shorter circle in that regard. Now, this particular arm is set up with the idea of one ox team. We had tried the mill with individual oxen, 1 ox on each arm, but we found that actually it's better to have a team of oxen, 2 oxen with a yoke. So this is a chain that comes back all the way to a hitching point. Now in effect we have another mechanism here which I'll come to later, but just if you go 1 team on the shaft, then you can hook on directly. So this is hooked on directly to the shaft. If you have more than 1 team, then you have to have some mechanism for evening the system. Otherwise what will happen is some oxen will just back up and they won't do any work, and the other 1 team will do all the work. So what this system is for 1 team of oxen. So the oxen will be yoked facing this way, and then this will just be hooked. This will just be hooked onto their yoke. Now here, just on this arm in front, we have to have a rope here. This rope, and this rope with a hook on the end will hook it onto the ox at the front here, and that means the ox is obliged to keep to a certain distance from the center and obliged to walk in a circle. This is a very simple hook system. It's important to kind of keep the ox in the right position. For a multi-hitch system, then you will need to attach each team to the bar in front, so they're pulled around as well as pulling around. I'll come to the cabling later for different mechanisms. Now, if you put a team of bulls onto a 5-meter arm like this and they pull it, the bar is going to bend. The bulls weigh, in our case, about just over 1 ton each, So you've got 2.2 tons of ox pulling a bar, it will bend. Therefore we need some kind of bracing. And this will be something akin to a ship. So we have something welded here onto the metal on this side, a D-shackle for our convenience, a hook, and then an adjustable bar. And then thick cable with cable ties going all the way back to the bar, the following shaft. So this acts like a brace. So that when the bar is being pulled, it's pulling this cable. The bulls pull it, the tension is taken up on this cable, and it means less chance of anything breaking. And similarly, we decided to have another brace on the opposite side, and that is because just in case a bull backs up, sometimes they back up to try and push the bar backwards. So we have another brace doing the same thing on the other side, and that goes all the way back to the other shaft. So in effect, all these 5 arms, although they're individual, they're all tied up to each other with again just a cable running around the wood with some cable ties to secure it. You can see that's an old wooden shaft, whereas this one is a metal shaft, and gradually we're going to replace all our wooden shafts with metal shafts. Okay, I'm going to show you now what we would do if we had more than one team of oxen in place. I'm going to put the camera down temporarily. Okay, now we go to this point. Again, we were here before, and now what we have here, if you have more than one team working at one time, then you need to have some kind of cabling system. So if I pull this cable, it's running a pulley now. So what you do, you have a chain onto this hook, and this would hook on to the yokes of ox, or a single ox if you wish. And by pulling on this cable, the cable is pulled this way, all the way down to that point. So I'm pulling this cable, and it's pulling the tension on the cable. And this cable is a circle that goes all the way around the mill. So on each arm, there's a similar system of a cable with pulley wheels that distributes the load through the whole system. So by pulling on this cable, the load is distributed to all the 5 arms. So again, there's a pulley wheel here. I go down this cable that we've just been pulling, swap over the next cable, and then we have another pulley wheel at the end. And that just simply is basically to run on this cable here. And by pulling on it, it pulls the cable, and that distributes the load to all the 5 arms. Okay, now I'm going to go further inside. So this is the metal shaft, strong metal shaft. In our case, because of its weight, we have put a wheel on the bottom. This basically runs around the ground. If you wanted to, you could put a seat on it, so if you want a bit more comfort while you're driving along, and it just kind of keeps the weight of this steady. Okay, now we're going to go inside. Stuck under these cables here. We'll look at the milling mechanism shortly. What we have here, each of this metal shaft runs into a metal shoe, and this is basically some kind of metal configuration of 5 shoes that take the shafts, and that just sits in there and is fixed just to the base of the metal. The other shoe stops this